All right, it's probably about the 12 p.m. turn here on the southern sector of the battlefield. The Russians have pulled back and are trying to establish a line uh, stretching along here and then across. Um, they have done a fair job of getting things in a pretty good order and have some of their position batteries set to do some damage to the French as they start to come up. Um, and we'll see how they start to do. They do start to chip away at the French, but the French have got a fair amount to play with. Marshal Deveau has brought his troops up. They're marching in this way. And what's of real importance for this sector of the line is that we finally have some cavalry available to play with. Most of the center had been predominantly infantry for the French since they dispatched their cavalry south to try to prevent the Russians from gathering some of the victory points in the villages. And so now that cavalry has come back and is joined by additional heavy cavalry that the marched in with Marshal Deveau. And those are these units here that are starting to come in and will make an impact on the Russians shortly. Now, as we move a little further north, you'll see here that the French line has stabilized in this area. We've got Marshal Soul's troops along here ready. We've got some of their units pushing forward this way, and we've got basically reserves getting ready to push in and really make an impact on this side as far as a way of kind of turning the Russian position in conjunction with Deveau marching in from that side. So the Russians are in a lot of trouble on that sector of the battlefield. Now, meanwhile, they do have a pretty good defensive line right along here with troops lined up and lots of heavy cavalry, heavy guns available for deployment. And those are going to be pouring a lot of fire in all along here against the French as they get ready to come up and make their push on the Pratzen Heights. Now, if we go a little bit further to the north, we have Marshal Bernado's corps along in here. They are starting to push around this way to try to come and put some pressure on the Russians and turn their central position in conjunction with Marshal Soul's forces. So that's kind of what's developing over on that side of the center with Marshal Bernadotte. Now, what's of importance over here is what's taking place here in the center. One of the things that's happening is that in order to help support the Austrians against the French, the Russians are dispatching some cavalry and other troops this way to try to support the Austrians, who are under a fair amount of pressure from Napoleon and from this group of cavalry that's getting ready to come in on their flank. The Austrians didn't have a lot of heavy cavalry, or it's kind of been used up. So this relief force is coming, and that's going to make an impact here in just the next turn or two that leads to the critical moment in the battle and the end of the game.